Do you remember the nursery rhyme when you were a kid about the three little pigs? The first little piggy built his house with straw, the second little piggy built his house with sticks, and the third little piggy built his house with bricks. And then when the big bad wolf came, he what? He huffed and puffed, and he blew the little piggy's house down that was with straw, he blew the little piggy's house that was with sticks, and then he huffed and puffed in all his might, but he could not blow the little piggy's house down with bricks. The reason why I bring up that story and why I'm going to use it today to help explain is because every single day you are building a house within your mind, not necessarily with straw or sticks or bricks, but with beliefs that are being stored into your subconscious. And here's what most people don't often realize and understand is that 90 to 95% of your life, your thoughts, your behaviors, and your decisions are driven by your subconscious mind. Meaning, the house that you are currently living in right now within your mind, you did not consciously build most of that. It was programmed. Okay? Think for a moment. Just take a moment and pause and think about how much of your life is run on autopilot. When's the last time that you consciously thought about tying your shoes? When's the last time you consciously thought about which hand to use to brush your teeth in the morning? When's the last time you consciously thought about driving? When's the last time that you consciously thought about the route that you take to get to work? I guarantee it's on autopilot, just the same route every single day. And because most people do, most people live their life on autopilot. Again, 90% of your brain, 90%. Okay, only 10% is this conscious prefrontal cortex that you're consciously choosing what you're gonna do. So you need to consciously think for a moment how much of your life you don't actually think about. You probably have a set way that you put on socks in the morning, maybe right foot to left foot or left foot to right foot. You probably have a certain way that you get out of bed. You probably have a routine that you don't even think about in the morning because it's already been programmed as a groove within your mind. I know personally, a few years ago when I lived down in Las Vegas and I was working on a rock climbing apprenticeship, there was certain routes, certain times a day that would get backed up like crazy. Okay, so I learned very quickly that if I'm coming home late on a climb one day, not to take the highway. I better take all these back routes. But think of how many people, they don't even think about that. They don't even think that there might be another route to take. They're like, nope, this is my route to get home. I'm going to sit here for an hour and 20 minutes rather than taking 30 minutes on off the highway. And they're just on autopilot. Their life is being subconsciously ran and they're not even consciously thinking about the things that they're doing. So now I want to talk about the different types of houses in the mind. Because if you are not building your house, somebody else is building it for you. And I guarantee it's not going to be built like your dream blueprints. It's going to be built like theirs. Okay, so the first people, you have the straw. The straw house is what I'm going to use to describe the impulsive brain, the dopamine loops. Some people are building their lives with straw. This is the part of your brain that is wired for instant reward, the dopamine system. You're constantly chasing what feels good right now. It's like the shiny monkey syndrome. I don't know if you've ever heard that. There's other terminologies for it when people talk about this. But these are the people that are scrolling, validation, distraction, avoidance. Neurologically, your brain is choosing short-term relief, short-term satisfaction over long-term stability. They would rather dissociate rather than have to sit with their emotions. It's fast, it's easy, it feels good, but when pressure comes, when life comes and pokes at you, when they pokes the bear in a sense, you don't stand, you cope. That is somebody who has built their life out of straw. But now what about the house with sticks? The house with sticks I'm going to use to represent the conditioned mind of subconscious programming. And this is the conditioned brain. These are beliefs that were wired into you early on through repetition, emotion, and environment. From the age of 0 to 7, your brain was in a state of hypnosis. So it was observing and absorbing the world around you. So whatever religion that you were born into, whatever society group that you were born into, whatever your parents believed about money, about the world, about the government, about politics, this was all being informed into you. And these beliefs then live in your subconscious neural pathways. Patterns then form in the brain to keep you safe. Things like, I'm not enough, I have to earn love, I shouldn't speak up. These aren't conscious choices anymore. They become automatic programming. Stronger than straw, but still unstable because they weren't built by you. And therefore, you're still running on somebody else's blueprint on how to live your life. And you're still unconscious, therefore probably reacting to things more often than not. When that coworker's just annoying the hell out of you at work that day, when you get stuck in traffic for 5 minutes, there are probably things that you're like, what the hell? Especially if you have not worked through emotions and instead just learned to store them. You're just like, nope, I can't process this is uncomfortable. I'm just going to keep building my house with straw. I'm going to keep building it with sticks. I'm not going to focus on this. I'm going to just dissociate. I'm going to just react. But now let's talk about the house with bricks. Intentional rewiring of identity, intentional building. Because the ones who build with bricks, they engage a different level of the brain. Okay, the brick house is the one, the prefrontal cortex. Again, you have 10% that is conscious. This is the part responsible for awareness, choice, and change. This is where you pause and you become aware, usually through meditation. That's why every culture taught it in their spiritual teachings. That's why it is great for health benefits when you study more of the science aspect. Okay, when you observe the pattern and then you consciously choose differently. And through repetition, you then literally rewire your brain. That is called neuroplasticity. Okay, because bricks that you build are not just positive thinking, it's embodied belief change. When your conscious mind and your subconscious mind finally agree together, when there are coherence between the two. Because in your mind, you have different levels of programming going on. And there's even a verse in Luke 18:7, I want to use this. There's a verse that says, "For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest." And most people hear that and they think it means being exposed, judgment at the end of the day, like God's going to come back and judge everybody and expose all your dark shit inside. No. That's talking about your subconscious mind, because nothing you believe ever stays hidden. Okay? Every pattern you avoid, every fear you suppress, every belief you never question, it does not disappear. It expresses itself in the way that you show up, in your reactions, in your relationships, in your life, in your worldview. You want to know somebody's personal view about themselves? Ask them about their worldview. Because most of the time you only think something about somebody if you think it about yourself. You only think people are unkind if you're unkind. Okay, I don't look at people and be like, oh, that person's going to steal my shit, because I don't steal people's stuff. I don't look at people and be like, oh, the world's a cruel place, because I don't believe I'm a cruel person. And that's also because years ago, I learned how powerful my mind is. Again, if you tell yourself that you can't, if you think that you can't, if you're telling people that you can't, as a man thinketh, so is he. By your faith, by your identity, shall it be unto you. And that's where I think sometimes people, they get frustrated in this kind of culture of like the healing culture that we kind of got going on of like, let's say affirmations, like, hey, you need to speak life into yourself, speak positively. And people are like, it didn't work. And yell, yeah, Susan, okay, if you've spent the past 15 years being negative, telling yourself that you're ugly, telling yourself that you can't, telling yourself that you're broke and that you're poor and that life just doesn't work out for you and you're so unlucky, if you're telling yourself all of these negative things, do you really think if you have built your house with sticks, this unstable house, one little pebble of an affirmation is going to build you a stable house, is going to give you a solid foundation? Even Jesus talked about that in the book of Matthew 7. He talks about the house that is built on sand. And when the waves of life come, when the emotions, when circumstances outside of your control come, the house, it came crashing down. But the house that has a solid foundation is the house that stood. Because nothing that is hidden will not be exposed. When life comes and tests you, which it will, there will be circumstances outside of your control that you do not plan for. You cannot control how other people treat you, how other people talk to you, how certain things happen. They're out of your control. But the only thing that you can control, and I know this might be a hard one for somebody to digest, is your reaction. The only thing you can control is you. So you're either going to blame and be a victim and continue to be woe is me and give your power away, or you are going to actually swallow the fucking pride and have to admit, you know what? Yeah, my life might not necessarily be 100% my fault. There might have been things that happened to me that were out of my control, but the way that I choose to write the story about it, the way that I choose to believe about that circumstance, the way that I choose to move forward is 100% my responsibility. And I'm going to choose to change my life. Okay, if you don't like your life right now, in the next 5 years, what do you want it to look like? Are you just going to keep blaming, oh, it's too hard, that's so impossible, that's not the way the world works? Well, then guess what? In 5 years from now, I guarantee, because nothing changes until something changes, you're going to still be bitching and complaining about the same things going on in your life. But now if you consciously choose to actually start putting in the time to get to know thyself, as a lot of the ancient paths talked about, to go inward, to actually understand what's going on up here in your mind, to become self-aware, and then to consciously start with repetition, changing the belief systems by repetition, choosing new habits, choosing new actions. Now you're creating new brain pathways. Now you're creating new programming in your mind. Now you're creating a new way of thinking, a new way of being. Now you're creating with your thoughts and your emotions a new state of being. And over time, that identity then cements in the place, the father and the mother birth a new child in you, and you have a new identity. And now it's like a 180 switch, and you're like, I don't even recognize that old version of me anymore because I'm a completely different person. But it has to take conscious action. Action is the greatest form of belief. If you believe something to be true, if you believe that you can change your life, you're going to take action towards it. And you have to consciously take action. Because yeah, one little affirmation of you're beautiful, one little affirmation of looking in the mirror, I love you, it might not seem like it's going to do a lot, especially when that old programming, it does. It comes and attacks you and it tries to steal, kill, and destroy that new identity. When it comes and challenges you, this accuser in your mind, Ha-Satan, it's like, who do you think you are? No, you're ugly. No, you're not beautiful. Like, look how much prettier those people are. Who do you think you are saying that stuff? That's not who we are. And it's going to challenge you because you are either a captive in your mind or you are the conqueror of your mind. And if you give your mind to somebody else, if you give it to that doubt and that ego inside of you, oh, it'll build you a house. It'll build you a nice, strong stronghold that you can't get out of. And you will be so trapped in suffering and turmoil in your mind. And even when people try to tell you that there's a different reality, you're just going to be so focused on the belief systems that have consumed you, that have just completely suffocated you in your mind, that you're not going to believe that there's a different path, that there's a different fate for you if you chose that for yourself, if you took control of that. But now those that are rooted in the house of the Lord, okay, again, symbolism in the Bible, those that are rooted in their house, that are upright and one, that are righteous, okay, that are good, those who are seeking the Lord. And where's the Lord? In the kingdom of heaven. Where's the kingdom of heaven? Jesus said it's right here. The kingdom of heaven's within you, okay? When you consciously become aware and you open up like a pine cone, this pineal gland, now you can start imagining creating a different future for yourself. Now you start consciously choosing different beliefs. Now you start consciously creating, because you are a co-creator of your life that you want to live. And now every day you choose to build a stronghold, a house of bricks on which is a refuge. So when people do come at you and they try to tell you who you are, oh, who do you think you are? You don't entertain that. When people try to tell you that you're less than or that you're too much, you don't entertain that. When somebody calls you arrogant or entitled for demanding respect and having boundaries, you don't entertain that. You're not, when life comes and pokes at you, when these waves come crashing at your house, you've got this stronghold that's a refuge. And you just sit there unaffected by it. You're like, okay. Because you know the moment that you react and start getting emotional to somebody's words, to somebody's actions, and you are not in control of yourself, you just gave them the power over you. But you want to have the power and authority over your life. You don't ever want to give that away. Don't ever give away your power and authority to other people. So every day that you consciously choose a new affirmation, every day that you consciously choose to listen to subliminal programming, to feed your mind with positive music that actually uplifts you and doesn't have victim mentality or weakness. You are so powerful. Your mind is so powerful that if you believe that you're powerless, so shall it be. Again, if you think you can't, whether a man can or cannot, that's true for him. Henry Ford said that, and then somebody before Henry Ford said that, and it keeps going back all the way through history. But I remember the Henry Ford one. I remember when I was a kid, okay, I went into Taekwondo, and I remember to go from white belt to yellow belt, you had to break a piece of wood with your hand. And I remember the first time practicing that being like, I can't do that, like little Destiny. And immediately my teacher's like, no, that word, we do not use that word in here. Okay, do you see those green belts over there? They're going to break over 20 bricks with their elbow. And when you're a green belt, you're going to do that too. And I'm like, the fuck? Like, what do you mean? 20 bricks with my elbow. Like, what? We're really that powerful? But we are. We are so powerful. But we are believing so much in our minds. I guarantee over 50% that's going on in your mind, it's not actually you. It was programmed into you. The thoughts that you're believing that are true about life, I guarantee there's a whole world out there that just will completely blow you away if you actually start questioning what's going on in your head. But every day that you do, you choose conscious thoughts. You choose to consciously focus on your mind to become aware and to change it. Over time, you got this nice stronghold. And you will. They'll wake up one day and you'll actually love yourself. And you'll be like, wow, you are beautiful. I do love you. And you'll feel confident because you learn to start keeping promises to yourself. So that when doubt comes up and it tries to accuse you and it tries to attack you and it says, oh, I don't know if we can do that, you're now going to have receipts of like, look at every other time that I've showed up for myself. Look at every other time I was capable. Look at every other time I achieved these things. And that's how you build an impeccable authority. That's how you build confidence within yourself, that you trust yourself. But there's some of you out there that you have broken so much trust with yourself that you doubt yourself. You have this, defeatedness, this apathy for your own life because you haven't been keeping promises to yourself, because you abandon yourself daily for other people's dreams, for other people's blueprints, for other people's houses, for other people's kingdoms. You have placed their approval and their authority on pedestals and made them false idols in your life, and you have had other gods before me, because your brain is constantly filtering reality. The RAS system, the reticulating activating system, is looking for evidence that it already believes. So whatever your subconscious is programmed to then train your RAS system to look for and believe, that's what it's going to find. So what is hidden in your subconscious will become visible in your world. Your lack of faith, your lack of belief, your lack of optimism, your lack of believing that things are actually possible to work in your favor and that your dreams are actually reality, oh, it's fucking evident in the way you show up. You do not fool anybody. We think that our egos, our false selves think that they're master performers. You know, we put on all these masks to show up. It's a rarity to see a real soul in this world nowadays. But you're still not fooling people. It bleeds through the cracks. All of these layers of paint that you just keep putting on to hide all these things that you're not going to resolve inside of yourself because you don't want to actually sit with yourself, it bleeds through because nothing that is hidden stays hidden. It all comes to the surface. Because again, that's why Jesus said, the one who builds their house on sand, it falls when the storms come. But the one who builds their house on a rock, it stands. Not because storms don't come, but because the foundation is solid. And even Krishna, when you study the Hindu tradition and you study the Gita, he talks about the same thing. Krishna describes the one who is steady in the mind, unaffected by chaos, rooted beyond pleasure and pain. Because when your inner world is stable, the outer world cannot destroy you. When you study traditions, when you study the spiritual path, and I'm not talking about New Age spirituality where it's just become another form of performance and a whole nother religion in itself. That's not what I'm talking about. But when you actually get to the root and you scrape off all of these doctrines and theologies and religions that have been built over these systems, okay? Jesus was not a Christian, Krishna was not a Hindu, and Buddha was not a Buddhist. They were spiritual teachers. They were archetypes and stories meant to teach. And yes, some of them were also real people. Don't take that out of context. The point of that is, when you actually study the inner path of it, when you actually study the symbolism, they point to the same truth. When you look at the Tao, when you look at the Gita, when you look at the Hebrew text, and you look at even Paul's writings, Paul says in Romans, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Take every thought captive to Christ. When you are unconscious, these thoughts in your mind, you're just identifying with them. Okay, you do not get to necessarily control what thoughts come into your mind. Now, over time, programming your subconscious, your thoughts definitely do start to change, the ones that just subconsciously come to you, because whatever thoughts come in just onto your brain waves come from your subconscious mind. It's coming from your heart. And that's why your heart can be wicked and deceitful and lead you astray. It's not talking about your passions and your desires. No, those are good things. Those are key indicators of why you're here on earth, to create beauty and bring heaven down. But when you have this unconscious programming going on in your subconscious mind and these thoughts that are just coming out of your brain, you don't always necessarily get to choose them. But when you are conscious and aware, you do get to choose whether you're going to agree with them or you're going to say no to them. So I know even sometimes I have old thoughts that will come back up in my brain. And if I'm not careful, they will. They'll try to swipe me. They'll try to take me on a little train ride over into memory lane, into the past or into the future, getting me to fear or have anxiety. This thought will come up of like, oh, you're going to flop today on your videos. Like, today's not a good day. And I'll be like, no, my videos are going to go just fine. I am capable, I am competent, and I know my message. And I have to have that little conversation with my accuser in my head. Because again, these are all archetypes going on inside of you. Hasatan is like an accuser. It's a challenger. You have a challenger and accuser in your mind because your biggest enemy is yourself. Okay? And that's where I love the quote. God said to love your enemies, so I obeyed and loved myself. And so when you start to study the different stories and the different traditions and the different languages, you start to see this bottom reality of same truth, that it was always talking about what's happening inside of you. Because you contain the entire universe inside of you. You are not separate from the divine. So I'll ask you right now, what is your house built on? What beliefs are predominantly ordering and mastering your life? Is it cheap dopamine loops? Is it conditioned beliefs you never chose, or fear you've never questioned? Or is it truth? Is it awareness? Is it a foundation that you intentionally built? What are the belief systems that you are running your life on? Your belief systems are so important. And I can't stress that enough. Literally, what you believe will become true for you. Because whether you believe it or not, whether you realize it or not, unconsciously or consciously, every single day, your entire life is being operated and created from what's going on inside of here with your belief system. And you get to choose what you believe, or you're going to let somebody else choose for you.